Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. The type of weeping that occurs out of the fear of Allah is something praiseworthy. If a Muslim cries out of fear of Allah, this act of the shedding of his tears or her tears is praised by Allah Azza wa Jal. Numerous hadiths have been narrated in praise of it. As long as the crying is out of the fear of Allah, with awe and reverence for Him, it is commendable. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, لا يلج النار من بكى من خشية الله عز وجل حتى يعود اللبن في الضرع. The one who weeps out of fear of Allah will not enter hellfire until the milk returns to the udder. This means that the person who cries out of fear of Allah due to their awe, reverence, glorification, and love for Allah, someone whose heart is deeply affected, causing their eyes to shed tears, such a person will enter paradise and not enter hellfire. That is because the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam explicitly said, لا يلج النار. This means will not enter hellfire. This signifies that the person who cries out of fear of Allah will not enter hellfire in the hereafter. They will be protected. The reference to the milk returning to the udder is a metaphor for something that one cannot do. When milk is drawn from a sheep or a cow and collected in a container, can one return it back to the udder as it was? No, one cannot return it as it was before. Likewise, the one who weeps out of fear of Allah, they will not enter hellfire. This comparison is meant to make the concept clearer and more understandable. It also came in the hadith that amongst those who will be shaded under the shade of the Arush on the Day of Judgment is the believer who remembers Allah when alone, and out of fear of Allah, out of glorifying Allah, his tears come down. And this includes the Muslim female. When we say that such and such believer is granted the shade of the Arush on Judgment Day, when there is no shade except this shade, it should be known that the Arush is the greatest creation of Allah in size, and so its shade is massive. Allah is not attributed with having a shade because Allah is not a body. Allah is not in need of the Arush, the throne, or any creation. Allah exists without a place. We ask Allah Ta'ala to protect us from hellfire and to admit us into paradise with the first batches of Muslims. Allahumma ameen, and Allah knows best.